Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Part number 5. We're gonna continue where we stopped last time. So right now we are able to create a meetup. We are also able to get all of the meetup. We did the stuff with data loader, so now when we do a query, it's much smaller. But now, I mean, we left the update meetup, the delete meetup, and also I would like to be able to get a simple user. So for now, the delete and update, that's going to be everyone who can delete and update. But later, we want to make sure we're going to have some kind of a authorization layer. So where we're going to say, hey, if you are not the owner of the meetup, you cannot update the name, etc. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right inside the schema GraphQL. And this is where we're going to finally add those finally query. Not query, but mutation, and also input. So here, where I have the input, I'm gonna create another one called update meetup. In this one, I want the same stuff as the new meetup, but we do not require them. If the user just wants to update the description, I'm gonna let him doing that. But yeah, like this, it's not like create where we require that. We don't need for this. Now for the mutation here, I'm gonna say update meetup. And the way I want the signature to be is I want first argument to be the ID and it's require. And I also want the input who's gonna be equal to this update meetup, and I want that to be require, and this thing gonna return a meetup. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump back in the resolver. You can just copy paste this line of code right there. But for me, I can just click run because I use Golang. I think you can do the same in VS Code. I'm not quite sure. But now we get that. So resolver already exists. That's perfect. But now if I'm going to my mutation resolver, this thing's going to be red because they say, hey, cannot use mutation resolver because we didn't implement one of the method, and the method missing is the update. So now what I can do is I can put my cursor right there, and I can say implement missing method. And the beauty of Golang, it's I have this thing autocomplete. So as you can see, it's all the thing I need. It's I have my mutation resolver, so I add a method on top of that, where I have my update meetup, where I do receive the context, the ID string because it's the first argument, and the second argument is the input. So what we're gonna do here, it's for updating the meetup, I want first thing to get access of the meetup I want to finally update. This way, I'm gonna make sure that I have the good meetup, and also I'm gonna make sure that this meetup exists. So I can receive my meetup repo from the M letter, and I can say get by ID, who is not existing right now. I'm gonna create that, and I'm gonna click create method get by ID, and that's gonna create that for me. So inside my meetup file, remember inside the Postgres meetup file, I'm creating this get by ID function for me. And this is already, they don't have the signature. So the signature is gonna be, I want to return a pointer to a model meetup or an error like that. So for the logic for that, it's gonna be quite easy. It's gonna be just, I'm gonna build a meetup variable where it's gonna be a meetup like that. After that here, I'm gonna receive an error or not from the db.model. Here I want to dereference my meetup like that. And now I'm gonna say where, because I have my condition where I need to say, hey, give me the meetup where my ID equal the ID I get here. And after that here, I just want to get the first element. I don't care, I don't want to receive an array or something like that. I just want to get the first element you get with this ID. And finally here, I know sometimes I do if error and stuff like that, but for now we're gonna just finally return this thing and that, and now we are good. So this way we return the pointer of the meetup. So now here we get the meetup and the error. Now here what I can do, it's gonna be an error check. So if error is not nil, or the meetup equal nil, just a check to make sure. I'm gonna return nil, and I'm gonna create my own error where I'm gonna say meetup not exist. Again, this thing you should create kind of a variable, global variable, where you're gonna have all your error and stuff like that. But for this for this tutorial, we're gonna go like that. So here, I know at this point I'm gonna have my meetup. After that, here the thing is, remember, okay, this input, if we look at that right now, if we look at update meetup, this input is a struct of pointer to a name and pointer to a description. So first, we need to make sure that those things are not nil before we update. So I'm gonna check if the input name is not nil. I'm gonna check its length. So what is the length of this input that name? And I want to make sure it's bigger than 3 because that was the check we did when we create. But now the issue is invalid argument for length, because this thing is the pointer. What we want is the value. So now I can get a value like that. And now here I'm gonna return nil. So if it's smaller than that, and I'm gonna say error that new name is not long enough. After that, at this point, now I can say meetup. So it's the one I want to update. The name equal to the input that name. Now the issue is here I'm supposed to receive the string. So here also I want to get the value of it. Perfect. Now that's gonna be the same thing for the description. So we're gonna copy paste that. Again, all that stuff should be better, like make it like in other way, because right now we copy a lot of our code, but for this tutorial is good enough. After that here, okay, what I'm gonna do is I want to call this update method. So that's gonna came from my meetup repo. I'm gonna call update and I want to pass my meetup. And I'm gonna create this function, this method, because this is not existing yet. Again, is inside the same file, meetup, inside the Postgres folder. So this update, so this update is gonna be pretty simple. So what I want, it's here, I'm gonna have a function where I call the PG, go PG, where I have my DB model. I pass it the meetup with already a pointer right there, where you need to do a where when you update in go PG, where ID equal this meetup ID. And finally, I'm gonna just call the function update. And you, as you can see, that return the result and error, but yeah, like that. So now here, what I'm gonna do, it's for this one, I'm gonna just return this meetup. For sure, you can return with the result, but I think we're gonna be good for that. Or you can just also say returning everything and update. And now here you're gonna get your result with everything you won't need. But for now, we are good for that. And I'm gonna return the meetup and the error. So now if I go back to my resolver, I can now do my check of the if error is not nil, return nil, and now I'm gonna return a FMT error F because I want to format an error, and I'm gonna say error while updating meetup colon person V, because I want to get all the stuff error. And finally, if everything is working, I'm gonna set meetup and nil. The only other check I want to do is I want to make sure that if the user send 2 empty string, we don't even try to do an update to the database, because yeah, it's so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a variable here which is gonna be just a boolean called false, and if one of them need to be updated, I'm gonna send that to true. I'm gonna say the same for the description. And now what I can do is before I hit the DB, I'm gonna say if nothing did update, now I'm gonna return nil. And the error I'm gonna return is no update done. Okay, so now I can restart my server. Perfect. And now, as you can see, I have meetup 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, why D1 is at the end? So this is another thing we're gonna fix right after that. You're gonna see it's gonna be a pretty simple fix, but now yeah, the one is there. So I'm gonna want to update this one. So I want to update the number 1. So I'm gonna say mutation update meetup. Update meetup. Here I take the ID. I'm gonna say 1, and I want an input where I'm gonna pass it a new name called a new name, and I want the ID back and the name. So if I send that, boom, now I get a new name. So now if I go to my database and I'm looking at the meetup right now, you can see ID 1, a new name right there. So we did really update to the database, and just to make sure I can re-get the meetup, and at the end I get a new name. Now you can see if I send no name, an empty string, I'm gonna get the error name is not long enough. Same if I have 2. And also if I send ID of 999 or something don't exist, I'm gonna get meetup don't exist because I'm getting stuck right there. That's perfect. Now how can we fix that? So it's pretty simple. What happened is we don't really care about the returning, and this is something we should change. So inside our meetup from the Postgres, where we do select here, we should do order by ID like that. So now if I restart the server, look at the query I'm gonna get. If I click enter, now I get 1, 2, 3, because now my query is select everything from meetup as not the as, but order by ID. So now we order by ID, so the one's gonna always be the first. For sure, you should order maybe something like created ad or something like that, but yeah, something we can talk in other tutorial. So perfect. So now I can update. Now I would like to be able to delete to do. So for the delete, I'm gonna add delete meetup right inside my mutation, and the only thing we need is to pass an ID, and I'm gonna return a boolean in this case, and I want to make sure that I return 1 because I'm not gonna return a meetup who don't exist, so I just want to return true or false. So if it's true, that means it's delete. So now I can go back to my resolver, rerun the generation. Perfect, it's done. Now if I go back to my mutation resolver, now it's crying again because mutation resolver don't have the missing method. Now I'm creating the missing method. And for the delete part, it's gonna be much more simpler than the one we just did. So the only thing we need is to do a check if the meetup exists with the ID we provide. But we don't gonna return nil, we're gonna return false. And after that, I want to get an error or not from my meetup repo, and I'm gonna have a function called delete where I need to pass my meetup. So I'm gonna create this method delete. See, the signature is pretty simple. And the only thing we need to do for that, again, that's the beauty of GoPG, it's pretty simple. It's m.db.model, I pass it the meetup, and I say where ID equal the meetup ID. And finally, I'm gonna call the function delete, and I'm returning the error. That's it. So now inside my mutation resolver, what I'm gonna do, it's gonna be pretty simple. The only thing I need to do here is if the error is not nil, I want to return false, and fmt error f, error while deleting meetup, colon %v, like that. And finally, if everything is fine, I'm gonna return true and nil, no error. So now I can restart my server. And now I would like to delete the number 1 right there. So I'm gonna copy that just because it's gonna be almost the same. So delete meetup. Here that's gonna be delete meetup. Maybe you're gonna need to refresh your just do command R just to refresh to get the lattice schema stuff. So now if I try to delete something who don't exist, yeah, just because I have that, I'm getting meetup don't exist. That's perfect. That makes sense. The meetup with an ID 99 do not exist. So now if I try to delete ID 1, now I'm getting true. And now if I'm looking at my database, you see ID 1 is not there at all. So that's perfect. So that means we did delete, and as you can see, delete from meetup where ID equal 1. So now if I'm fetching again, we start at 2. Perfect. Now we have one issue, okay? And the issue is, I mean, it's not really an issue, just we miss one of the query I would like is to get the user, so user information. So what I can do is I can do a type query here where I'm gonna want to fetch a user. I need just his ID and I'm gonna return a user. That's it. Now I'm gonna jump back to my resolver. I'm gonna generate back the file. And that's here, it's because I want to remove this thing, okay? You're gonna see in a moment. So now my, if I go to my query resolver, now this one is querying right now. So I need to implement the method. Looks like you do not want to implement. So I'm gonna say implement interface, query resolver. And now that's the method I'm missing. So now here I would like to be able to return the user. So I'm gonna say return r.userRepo.getUser by ID, and I'm passing it the ID. I don't need to do nothing else because this thing already fulfilled this thing. So now I can restart my server, run, refresh this thing, and now I'm gonna put that right at the top because it's gonna be easier for you. I can have a query user, or I can have user with an ID of 1, and here I can say username ID, boom, Bob, everything is working. You see, everything is there. But now the thing is, if I'm fetching my meetup and I say name, perfect, still work, but look here, no query at all. What happened? This is something we did in one of the first video. If we look inside the user resolver, the meetup still in memory meetup. So the issue is this, those meetup is this one here. So I'm gonna delete that from the resolver file. I don't want that, and I'm gonna jump back to my user resolver and I'm gonna delete everything from here. And now here I want to return u.meetupRepo.getMeetup for user, and here the only thing I want to pass is the user. Now it's not working because we don't have this function, this method yet. So I'm gonna create the method, and you see everything is there, but the only thing is I'm gonna call that user. I'm gonna make more sense. And now for the get meetup, what I'm gonna do is I want to create a slice of pointer meetup. After that, here I can receive an error from my m.db.model, where here I'm gonna pass it like that. And now here I'm gonna call where. So I want to get each meetup where the user ID equal the user.id I provide, and I want to select everything. And finally here I'm gonna return the meetups and the error like that. And now I can jump back to my user resolver, and now you see everything is working. Now if I go to my terminal and I click go run, really sorry. If I go back to Firefox and now I click here, my second meetup, my third meetup, my fourth meetup, my fifth meetup, and now if we look at the query right there, we get what we ask. We get each meetup where user ID equal 1. It's pretty nice. You see, it's pretty easy to add a feature. Really simple. The only thing now, it's here. You see I get 2, 3, 4, 5. But example, if I'm updating the meetup number 2 for a new name and I run that, perfect, it's updated. But now if I get in back, now you see I get 3, 4, 5, 2. So again, we get the same issue as before. So I should go back there. And here, before we select, we ask to order by ID. And now if I restart the server and I go back to Firefox and I run, now 2 is gonna always be in there. Even now, example, if I update number 4 with a new name with that, and now I get back 4, not there, but here, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the repo, again, the link in the repo is gonna be in the description. I don't know if I told you, but each branch, each part have its branch, so you can just look for which part you are right now. Example, in this case, that was part 5. So yeah, so the repo link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe if you didn't. Also hit the like button if this is something you did like. Ask me some question in the comments. In the next video, part number 6, the plan is to add authentication. So we're gonna create a mutation for the register and a mutation for the input, for the logging, and we're gonna be able to register and logging a user. And after that, we're gonna use the current user to create, delete, and update the media. So I hope you enjoy, and we're gonna talk in the next one. Bye everyone.